So this past week, there was a brand new episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. And as somebody who's watched the show since 2007, I have a lot of thoughts on it that I want to share, not only from the perspective of somebody who's watched since 2007, but more importantly from a therapist point of view. In this past episode, one of the main storylines was Tristan Thompson going around and doing kind of like an apology tour to a few of the sisters that he hadn't talked to yet, I guess, since the last cheating scandal had broke. And so today I want to talk my thoughts on why I don't necessarily believe that Tristan is as changed as he proclaims to be, and what we can learn and take away from this dynamic that we see on TV. So let's dive on in. So this past week, there was a brand new episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So if you have never watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or you don't know much about the Kardashians, that is completely okay. I have got you. I'm going to give just a very brief synopsis of the timeline between Khloe and Tristan. So Khloe Kardashian is the third oldest of the Kardashian-Jenner crew. She is the daughter of Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian. And she and Tristan met in 2016. And again, there's a whole story with Khloe and how she had just kind of been finding herself in these relationships and even in a marriage where these guys would seemingly take advantage of her, or they were good in the beginning and then things turned. And that's something I want to talk about in regards to Tristan. So anyway, Tristan's not like the first serious guy she's had. She's been married before, but Tristan was probably the second serious person that we had been introduced to as an audience. So in 2016, they meet, and it's said that they actually met when Tristan's first child's mom was still pregnant with their first child. And so there's still some shadiness, in my opinion, around that. I believe that how people leave a relationship when they haven't healed, taken accountability, grown, matured, they will implement that in the next relationship. And so it's believed that, she was still pregnant and Khloe came in the picture. And I love Khloe. I am a team Khloe girly. So anyway, they officially announced that they're serious in 2017. They start looking to move in together, and he's in Cleveland at this time. She's in California. He's an NBA player. So in September of 2017, it is announced that she is finally pregnant with her first kid. Again, there's a whole journey with Khloe. One of the major aspects with Khloe and her journey is the difficulty of getting pregnant. When she was married, there was a lot of difficulty with her seemingly being able to conceive. And so finally in 2017, in our mind, in her mind, I'm sure, she finally gets her happy ever after. Well, fast forward to April 2018, days before her first child is born, allegations and news starts to break that Tristan had been caught cheating on Khloe. Again, at first he's denying it, saying it's not true, until evidence comes out that it was actually true, and then he takes accountability. And then a couple days later, True is actually born, and the cameras were there, and you could feel the tension between the sisters who had just found out and Tristan, who was walking in. So True is then born, and it's believed that Khloe's trying to figure out how to have a healthy co-parenting relationship with Tristan. Some people believe that they got back together. She's denying it. Who genuinely knows? Then end of 2018, like November, December, pictures come out of Khloe and Tristan doing Thanksgiving together, doing Christmas together. They're saying it's co-parenting. People believe that they are back together though. Then fast forward to February of 2019, and news breaks yet again of Tristan cheating. This one hits a little closer to home because what had happened was there was pictures and videos that had come out where Kylie Jenner, who is the youngest of the Kardashian-Jenner crew, had a best friend, Jordan, and that's who he was caught being very inappropriate with. Fast forward then to, I believe, the summer of 2020. So it's believed in summer 2020, they get back together and things are seemingly good. And then in the spring of 2021, it's announced that Khloe is starting the surrogacy journey to have another kid with Tristan. And that sounds all good. But back up a month, March of 2021, it's Tristan's 30th birthday, and Khloe does what she always does best, which is throw a wonderful party to celebrate Tristan. And then it's believed that Tristan actually goes and somehow meets another person and ends up cheating with Khloe again. But we don't find this out until later that year. And then again, he denied it yet again until a paternity literally proves, hey, this is your child. This is truth. You ended up cheating on Khloe yet again. And again, the sad part is they had started the surrogacy journey before Khloe knew any of that. And so the surrogate had gotten pregnant with their kid. And then Khloe finds out that Tristan had cheated yet again. So that is the brief synopsis of what had taken place between Khloe and Tristan. Definitely not smooth sailing. Definitely a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. So with that being said, with that background being shared, this past week on the episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, again, Tristan was doing kind of like an apology tour. He wanted to talk specifically to Kylie because, again, the time in February 2019 of him cheating was with Kylie's best friend at the time, Jordan. And so he wanted to make amends and talk to her. So there's a scene of them talking, which, fine, cool. And I think Kylie, as young as she is, I feel like she portrays maturity the best sometimes. And even when that whole situation happened, you could see the heartbreak, but you could also see, like, I understand I'm going to have my sister's back and I have to distance myself from Jordan. So in this previous episode, they get to have a conversation and Kylie's like, look, I'm over it. I've moved past it and it is what it is. Jordan and I are good, which, by the way, I am so happy to hear that. I think Jordan got dragged through the mud like crazy. Was she wrong? 100%. But did she deserve that backlash that she got? I don't personally think so. So anyway, Kardashians are good with her, whatnot. Then he goes to Kourtney, and Kourtney's a little tougher. So Kourtney's definitely the oldest. If you guys don't know, Kourtney Kardashian is the oldest Kardashian, but she definitely comes off as the oldest a lot. And I might have to do, again, a whole video on her and her dynamics with relationships. But anyway, he came to Kourtney, and one of the last things that she says, because it's like a to be continued episode, is like, I think that Khloe is too good for you. And she's still seemingly upset about not just cheating, but the perpetual cheating that's been happening. And in the conversation, Tristan talks about how he's going to therapy and working on himself. And I think that's great. If that's true, I genuinely think that's great. Here's my problem, or here's my frustration that I think is important to talk about. Number one, I think it's important to know that we can't change, or we can't want to change solely because somebody else needs us to. I think where Tristan has gotten in trouble is he's so smooth and he's a good salesman. I don't necessarily find him super attractive, but I could see attractive qualities about him. And sometimes that smile or the way that he's able to talk and articulate words can be really convincing of like, oh, he's changing, he's going to therapy, he's saying certain key phrases or words that are showing like he can mimic or he can reiterate maybe what he's been hearing or what people are expecting him to say. And that is always a red flag to me. Now, do I believe he's going to therapy? I mean, I don't have a reason not to believe he's going to therapy. But again, where I get a little hesitant or where I see maybe some red flags that I think are important to note is he can't be going to therapy solely because Khloe needs it, solely because Khloe expects it, solely because Khloe is somebody who is finding their own healing journey and figuring things out. I think when people are wanting to solely change for somebody else, once the person is like, okay, I see the change, you're good. If they didn't change for themselves, they'll go right back to old patterns and old behaviors. And I think, again, that's where Tristan would get in trouble. Because in previous episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, in previous seasons, he would go around, talk about how he's sorry and how he's messed up and, you know, the regret and the disappointment he felt until him and Khloe got back together. And then he did it again. I think with Tristan, what is a red flag for me in any kind of relationship is, again, he can smooth talk his way into things, and then once he gets into things, he self-destructs, and then he hurts the people that he's around. Another thing that I see in Tristan that I think is important to talk about is when the allegations would come out, he would tend to deny these allegations almost every single time until there was actual evidence, whether it was video, whether it was paternity tests, pictures, whatever the case may be. He would deny until he was red in the face, and as soon as something came out, he was like, oh yeah, I did that, might be. When somebody's unable to be honest, that's a huge red flag. And not only just honest because he's cheating, and that's an extremely dishonest thing to do, but honest with themselves and taking accountability of like, hey, I messed up, or coming to the person first. Like the fact that Khloe found out when everybody else found out about these things, that's pretty messed up. When somebody isn't able to take accountability for even like small mistakes, like I don't know, if they messed up somewhere or did something and they're like, no, I didn't do that. Nope, not me, not me. And it's over and over again until evidence is actually presented. That is something to be very aware of, and that is definitely a red flag. A couple episodes ago, Kris Jenner was talking, which she's the matriarch of this dynamic. She was talking to Khloe, and something that bothers me with this family is they don't have a sense of boundaries with certain people in their lives, especially the father of children, which I get wanting a healthy co-parenting relationship. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think, though, inviting people in without boundaries who have really hurt people, like, so inviting Tristan into their lives without boundaries who really hurt Khloe is messed up. And something that Kris had said to Khloe was like, oh, he's such a great father, he's doing such a good job, are you sure you don't want to give him a second chance? Which, hello, it's more than a second chance, it's like 1,000th chance, like, it's beyond. And when I was watching that episode, it just hurt my heart, because I'm like, well, who's defending Khloe, or who's protecting Khloe's heart and mind in this? I think there's like some sort of Kardashian code or understanding that if you have a kid with this person, then you have to let them in no matter what, even if their behavior isn't healthy, even if they're not the best person, even if they've cheated and hurt and been destructive to literally your blood. I think watching that scene with Kris Jenner explains so much on why Khloe's also really loyal, and almost loyal to a fault. And watching that dynamic between Kris and Khloe, it made so much more sense on why Khloe has given Tristan so many chances. From the outside looking in, as a viewer, I had gotten frustrated every time that they seemingly got back together, because in my mind, like, girl, he's cheated on you so many times, he's hurt your heart so many times, and we just know about the times he's been caught. I can't imagine how many times he hasn't been caught. I mean, we can even look back to Kourtney and her relationship with Scott, right? And I love Scott, I'm a Scott stan. However, I also know there was a lot of years where he was really hurt and he was hurting other people, especially Kourtney. When Kourtney was trying to set boundaries of like, I don't want him around, I don't want him on family vacations when we're broken up, family would still invite him, family would still have him around, and there was a lack of understanding of boundaries and the need for boundaries, because again, it's Scott. There's 3 kids that Kourtney has with him. And so her family was thinking about, well, what would this look like, instead of what does it feel like for her. And so I think that mentality and that mindset is kind of where Khloe has gotten this idea that he has free access, maybe not to me like physically, but to me mentally, emotionally. And sometimes that access mentally, emotionally can even be more damaging than having the physical intimacy and all that as well. So here are 3 things as a therapist that I noticed when watching Keeping Up with the Kardashians, especially in the last episode that we just saw. Number 1, there's a misunderstanding of when you forgive, you don't need boundaries. Forgiveness can mean, I know the responsibility you have as a father to my children and the other 2 children, but we won't talk about that. And so I can respect that, but I don't have to invite you into any space. Mentally, emotionally, physically. He literally has been living with her for months after his mom had passed. And I think, again, like, you can be kind and compassionate and encourage him and, support him in other ways with boundaries. Sometimes with Kardashians and especially the women, I feel like there's this misunderstanding of like, when I forgive somebody, I have to let them back in completely. And I don't think that's always the case. And so that's one thing that I noticed from a therapist standpoint of view. Forgiveness doesn't mean a lack of boundaries. Number 2, and I already kind of talked about this, but people can't base their change off of somebody's expectation for them to change. And again, outside looking in, as a viewer, I feel like Tristan is changing to meet the expectation of Khloe for him to change. And if they get back into a relationship, I think he'll revert back to who he was, because he's not changing for himself. I see this a lot when I meet with people in my therapy office, where they're like, well, my mom brought me here, my parents brought me here, people think I need to do this, or people think I need to do that. And I will tell them, hey, if you're not here for you, it's okay. I'm gonna pass and we don't have to meet. I think it's really important to know that we can be encouraged, we can be inspired by others to change, but we can't solely change based on the expectation of others for us to change. And so that's definitely something I've noticed watching the show, and especially the last episode, from a therapist standpoint. And then number 3, which again, I kind of talked about already. But I truly believe the smoother the talker, the more that they're hiding. Every time I watch Tristan on my screen, I literally like shrivel up inside because I'm like, you're so smooth with what you're saying and with your words. It's almost like he, again, picks words that people want him to say, and he'll say it and mimic it and recite it in a way that sounds like, oh, okay, maybe he is, changing. And again, with past behavior, it's been proven that he hasn't changed, or that hasn't been growth and maturity in the ways that we would hope and want him to grow and change. Again, I am a KUWTK stan. I love Chloe. I think she is wonderful, and I'm interested to see how the season continues to unfold. Not even just like the season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but the season for her. And so that is my take. Those are my thoughts on this previous episode of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you're a Kardashian lover, if you watch all things Kardashian, or just enjoyed this video, I would love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to comment below. Again, if you're interested in all things mental health, therapy, pop culture, or faith, I would love for you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and turn on your notifications. That way you guys are notified anytime there's a new video out and ready to be viewed. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the time with your family, friends, or wherever you're watching from. I hope you enjoy a few days off and a great meal. Be sure to tune in next week for a brand new video. Until next time, guys.